and it was pretty cool to see that.
Well, let's talk about the schedule for today. We keep hyping it up, but let's give you actual visual proof of what you guys will be seeing today. Here in Europe, beGenius Team Expert starting the day off. Team Liquid Fnatic later on the match of the week. But North America, you guys love them. Superstars and Team 8 going at it. Then a rivalry for the ages as they continue to keep bashing each other's heads in, it seems like every couple of years. It's Team Naventic and Gale Force Esports. Now, Naventic currently 2-8, but that's still going to be a great match just because those two teams just do not like losing to each other.
Yeah, that's definitely true. And for me, a match that I'm really interested in is Team 8 playing. I was pretty much let down by the recent performance. I expected so much more, and it was a bit of a shaky games that they had, but it felt pretty wonky. Didn't really feel like the same Team 8 that we saw at the Western Clash, so I was very disappointed with that performance, and I hope that today they can break out of this and show us some good Heroes of the Storm.
Yeah, and Superstars is a team that can either show up for the day or they have a poor performance. It's still a matchup that could really happen. So North America is, of course, loaded tonight. But again, our first match of the day, beGenius and Expert facing off. Let's talk a little bit more. Expert continues to be this team that really dominates when it comes to off picks. They keep showing us new stuff every single week, but they've also been mixing in a lot of meta as of late.
The thing about Expert is that a lot of teams they are facing say, we are not too worried about them when they're trying to throw in one of these oddball compositions because we feel we can figure that out and deal with it. We are more so worried about Team Expert when they start to draft more normal, if they draft meta all of a sudden, since that team has really grown. At the beginning, they were known as the team that can surprise you. And I feel, to a certain extent, this is what still holds true. But they've developed as a team so much that most teams they go up against say, yeah, sometimes they can surprise you, but we're more so worried when they're playing a normal style because they have grown as a unit so much that right now, with a normal approach to the game, they're just so much better.
Well, let's see who is hungry for a win. It's time to figure out what battleground we are going to for game number 1 in our best of 5 series. Shire, oddly enough, will be our first pick, and it's chosen by Expert.
Loving it. I love watching games on Shire. I think it's one of the most fun maps to watch in Heroes of the Storm, in competitive Heroes of the Storm. So once again, it's all about that top lane, about the rotations here. Do we have that solo lane? Is, for example, Expert breaking it up a bit. We saw Playing Ducks do the same thing on our last battleground yesterday when we saw Brax's Holdout being played. And they approached the map a little bit differently than what we usually saw there. And we have seen these shakeups happening on different maps as well, as for example on Shire. So is it going to be that top lane, that solo lane, and the rotation between the mid and the bottom? Are they going to break it up a little bit? Are we going to have the focus on the globals? And yeah, I'm hyped for this one. It's good.
A really good point. Our top 3 have started to sway away from Shire more often. It's usually a 4th or 5th pick on the maps if we ever do see it. And our mid-tier teams, Expert, Playing Ducks, and such, are actually going there much earlier and bringing in different rotations. Mostly because a lot of teams are kind of getting over this whole global floating around, getting that late game, because you always feel like you're guaranteed late game whenever you play on Shire. But now with these teams in the mid-tier playing these Chen and whatnot, it's been having a lot of variety in our games, which is pretty exciting. So Expert and beGenius will be facing off first here. From beGenius, we've been seeing a lot more tags from them as of late. Their Li Ming one-trick Kirvois seems to be getting banned out as of late.
Yeah, we had a couple of definitely interesting picks there. If you imagine, if you remember the last game, we also saw Arcane on the Illidan and Sky Temple, and against Dignitas, they nearly got a win in, but all of a sudden he dies to Abathar and the Keep, and that was more or less the end of the story. So they are going to try and really fight for that victory. As you said, they haven't really won a single match yet, and they want to change that. They are very eager to show their French fans in particular that they can make that happen.
Okay, well, it looks like we're about to get ready for the draft. Let's start unfolding here and figuring out what exactly our teams are wanting to play here on Shire. Remember, Expert was the first to pull out the Zul Nazeebo. We haven't seen that in a long time, but you can have these weird strategies that are all about focusing the mid lane, getting your setup, get to level 10 as quick as possible, and then punish from there. We've even seen the Butcher in the past, and when you have someone like Blade who's working really hard to show that he's still someone that people want to pick up and play with, he's going to be really wanting to put on a performance today, if any performance comes out.
Exactly. In case that you missed it, Blade has been very vocal and has released a public statement where he said that right now his team is looking to potentially replace him after the season. He wants to prove to everyone that as a unit right now, they're still strong enough to come straight into the top 2, make it to the mid-season brawl. And this is something that he wants to do to just prove himself and the rest of his team that they can still function on that higher level. But his team has already been playing with Ethereal Angel a bit. They subbed him in for 1 or 2 games, so this is definitely a bit of a story within the team that's also quite important.
Well, beGenius instantly bans out Medivh here. Medivh, again, the ADRD special, you see it all the time, but it also makes a lot of sense against beGenius here. We see Team Expert pull out Medivh when they know they can be aggressive and kind of run over their opponents, especially on these lower tier teams. And so beGenius, realizing that they're not prepared for that aggression that could come their way, the random portals, they just immediately ban it out. They want to have a straight up fight in their eyes.
It's a very fast draft as well, because the Greymane coming in immediately after Expert bans out the Haka, so the globals have already been shut down a bit, but Greymane just getting this high priority in the European drafts. And beGenius, they definitely knew what they wanted here. They said from the start, okay, we're not going to be worried about the Tassadar, we're not going to jump straight into a Tassadar or Falstad. We want the Greymane, that's going to be the cornerstone of our composition, and we're going to take it from there. And Expert, interesting, Nazeebo and Ragnaros, so that's quite a bit to talk about. You, in particular, have just a few minutes ago been mentioning how this is a map where you more or less guaranteed the late game.
Yeah.
This is something that Nazeebo caters to. After level 20, a big power spike for him, where he can really turn the entire game and the entire fight, of course. And Ragnaros, a hero that usually is very good at slowing the game down even further, and it is absolutely fantastic to fight against an objective. So if a Dragonite is captured by beGenius, Ragnaros is going to be the one to just jump in with a Molten Core, take that objective down, take the Dragonite down, and make sure that there's no snowball against Team Expert.
Yeah, these picks really speak to each other to get that late game, as you're just mentioning there. So now Nazeebo is guaranteed to get level 20 if Ragnaros plays correctly and doesn't feed left and right. So we're in a good spot if you're Team Expert. They are definitely playing the battleground. Now, beGenius on the other side, you have a couple of options. You know that late game's coming your way. You could either move into a global here, Falstad, and put a lot of pressure on that Ragnaros in the top lane, or go for hard engage. Here they elect to go for Gul'dan and Ariel, so they're kind of matching in terms of going to late game. The Horrify is always strong, the Wave Clear is great here for Gul'dan, and then you have powerhouses with Greymane and Gul'dan when they hit 13 and 16. They really bring in those talents that start to punish the opposing team.
Gul'dan has also a few more things that we need to talk about here. You have mentioned the Horrify already. It's a huge game changer to an extent where a lot of teams ended up banning out the hero later on in the 4th or the 5th game even. But also, he's very good against Molten Core. If Ragnaros starts to pop the Molten Core and Gul'dan goes in with the Corruption, he can just do so much there. So this is something that we have to watch out for as well. He's amazing for the wave clear. He's great on this map in particular and has amazing poke. So definitely a great pick for beGenius. They can work a lot around the heroic ability and just set something up for Greymane to take the opponent down.
Yep, the Horrify bringing Greymane into an engage. He gets free auto attacks. At that point, Greymane's usually a happy wolf and will get those kills. Now, our next big bad here, Arthas, has been banned out. He has been really prevalent the last couple of days in a lot of our matchups. In fact, he's almost been first ban a lot of the time. He's going to get a little bit further down here in the draft, but with him being available, Expert will elect to get rid of him for now.
Yeah, and Expert also making a statement towards their own tank choice, since they are saying Arthas is not going to be part of our composition. We have seen them with a lot of Johanna as well, which would fit the map, so they have a bit more wave clear rotating between the mid and the bot. We already have their solo laner in the form of Ragnaros, so they are just electing to have that strong solo lane up at the top, Ragnaros, and later on with the Molten Core being great against anything that beGenius can throw towards them, but they have to take care of their 4-man right now,
yeah,
if they want to make that 4-man rotation happening. We still have a global on the map that could potentially be picked up by them. It would also fit the composition, having a bit of auto attack damage with a Falstad. That's one of the things they could be running here. So I'm pretty curious to see what Expert picks up next. I would say a Johanna would be quite good for them, and they could also then jump into a Falstad if they feel the global is offering them enough.
Okay, well, beGenius will ban out Malfurion here, so getting rid of that support to help out Nazeebo, especially in the late game, that Innervate helping him just constantly chunk out those spiders. So we go into Lucio and a Nubrak. A Nubrak being the counter to Gul'dan. Usually we actually see him picked up earlier, so Team Expert in a good spot here with their anti-spell tank.
Yeah, they give up a bit of the wave clear that a Johanna would give them, but they have with the Nubarak now, as we said, a great tool against Gul'dan in particular that can then jump the backline, so that's something that works for them. Lucio, of course, always a great force when it comes to engage and disengage. He also has that big push that he can use to just simply slide behind someone, push him into the comp.
Yeah. So
that's something that he can do. Exposes himself, of course, in the process, so he has to be careful about this. And also, he doesn't have that cleanse that we've been talking about a lot. Maybe that's something that beGenius can look towards exploiting now, since they still haven't picked their front line. They could look at simply picking up someone with a decent stun for engagements.
Yeah, Variant could be good here. A wonderful pickup. Again, not banned out. It would be great for them to work into. You could also fall from the Horrify when Lucio comes in for the engage, drop the Horrify, Greymane goes in, starts the chunking. You also have some oddball picks available to you for your home if you don't have a variant available. Diablo could work out, or even the old combo Tyrael pickup. We do go into Johanna and Zarya though. beGenius looking to actually go into fights with some scrimming potential.
Yeah, so now we have Johanna picked up. I expected her on the side of Team Expert, but they elected Anubarak to be putting more pressure onto Gul'dan. With Johanna on the side of beGenius, they have a fantastic amount of wave clear. If you look down the lineup, they have a Greymane, Gul'dan, Oriel, Johanna, and Zarya. All of these heroes offer a certain amount of wave clear that really helps you. So in that extent, they really have a bit of an up over Team Expert. And Expert needs to also think about this a little bit right now. So there's a very strong setup for beGenius. They can make a lot with us happen.
Are we going to have the Zul pickup here for Expert to get a little bit of wave clear to help out with the matching? They have a solo Anubarak, which does scare me.
I wouldn't really think about a Zul here in the setup for them right now. I don't really think that fits their comp too well. I mean, you have a bit more lockdown. Personally, I wouldn't expect it from them here because their foreman is going to have a bit of a rough time against what beGenius has on the map right now.
Okay, just throwing it out there. It's usually the Expert life. They move into Tychus here.
Yeah, Tychus, so for a bit more damage against that front line, especially, of course, attempting to burn down Johanna if they can. And yeah, it's a pretty solid setup for both of the teams. I like the draft of beGenius a bit better, I have to say, though. But Team Expert is the more well-rounded team in general.
Yeah.
And beGenius, as we said, they've been struggling a lot. They are 0-11 now.
Yeah, Expert's team is really just all about getting a late game. They want to delay as much as they can, get their Nazeebo set up, and then Nazeebo at 20 just feels like a different hero. He just almost starts half-shotting a majority of characters. Some squishies, like Jaina in particular, if he gets hit with spiders, can be burned down just from the damage that Nazeebo can burn out.
Yeah, Nazeebo is, like, his 720 talent is just absolutely insane. You get so much value out of it, and this is definitely going to be a bit of an issue. And beGenius, of course, at this point, they're 0-10, so we're not jumping the gun here. They're not 0-11, but if they lose today, that would be exactly what's happening here, so they need to be super careful. But I like that draft for the first map, so this is really something where they can set themselves apart a bit, but you have to also look at it for a moment from Expert's point of view, because Expert find themselves in a very tricky spot where if they lose, that would be a disaster for them. If they're the first team that is beaten by beGenius and they lose even more points in the rankings as they're trying to get a good spot for the playoffs, that would absolutely be the worst case scenario for them. So they need to be very careful here.
Yeah, suddenly you would be talking about the playing Ducks, Twitch Esport. In fact, there was a time where we thought Twitch Esport would be over Expert, and Expert has such a explosive start that we started to really side with them and, of course, enjoy their approach to the game. Let's go ahead and get started here with game number 1. We are going into Dragonshire Best of 5 Series, beGenius facing off against Expert.
Game number 1 starting up on Dragonshire between Team Expert and beGenius, and all the way to the left in blue we have Bad Benny on Anubarak for the Experts, Curson on Lucio, ADRD on Nazeebo, Nick on Tychus, and Blade plays Ragnaros.
To the right, beGenius. Unstable will be playing Ariel. Tank for the win will be on Greymane. Danatan will be playing his Johanna. Gul'dan will be played by Kirvois, and Zarya will be played by Erikine.
Pretty interesting setup here for both of the teams, especially when we're looking at what beGenius is running now is a bit more standard. One of the questions, of course, we still have to answer is who will take over that top lane for them. They have a very strong foreman no matter how they run it right now. But we have already Ragnaros on the side of Expert, who is most likely going to take the top lane for Team Expert. beGenius has to match that somehow. Could also, of course, set up rotations to put a bit of additional pressure onto these heroes. But for now, they are just completely happy poking in that mid lane. And you can see that wave clear that we've been talking about at work already.
Yeah, Team Expert will struggle here to handle the push coming that way. beGenius will keep up with the rotations. Gul'dan and Johanna will always lead the charge with Ariel floating around the side. You want to make sure that Gul'dan is saved in case anyone does move in for an aggressive play, which would be the case for Bad Benny. In fact, here's an aggressive play here on the top. He charges in, does miss out on Greymane there, doesn't set her back, goes in for the Impale, but does not connect, and Team Expert will not be able to gank and get a pick.
One of the things I want to highlight immediately now that we are starting the game is you can see how Expert starts to rotate on the map. Traditionally, as we said before, this is a map where you have a solo lane and then you have a 4-man rotation between the mid and the bottom. That requires, of course, wave clear. The whole thought process behind it is you clear the wave and then you rotate to the next lane, and there's an 8-second that you have between each lane where you can burst them down. So this is something where you normally try to get a bit of a lead. And Expert realized from the beginning that they do not have the wave clear to match the rotation of beGenius. So instead what they've been doing is rotate heroes to the top. They set up a solo laner at the bot lane, and they rotate heroes now between the top lane and the bot lane just to make sure that they're putting in the additional pressure. And it works. We saw the first kill happening just now, and this is something that they are doing now at the top as well. So they get 2 kills out of it, even though beGenius, from a standard point of view, has the better draft for the 4-man.
Nice alterations here by Expert as they get a couple of pickoffs and now have the top shrine under control. The Zebo fling around the bottom to keep up that soaking, but Expert right now, if you just look at the map, they do have pressure happening here in the middle and the top as well. beGenius trying to answer back at the top right. Zarya is being focused here. Bad Vinny going for the body box. He has the impale. He goes for it. Blade delivers the final blow.
Great job here by Team Expert, and I really like the way they approach this now. It's oftentimes a bit of a problem if you try to play your opponent's game. And beGenius said from the beginning, hey, our 4-man is going to be so strong that if you try to match our rotation, you're going to lose out. First of all, we're going to clear these waves a lot faster than you can, so you're always trailing behind. And second of all, if you're caught by our 4-man, you might also end up losing 1 or 2 heroes. So Expert, they shake it up, and they put the pressure onto beGenius, play a different style on the map now, and it works perfectly for them. They have 3 kills already. Not even 3 minutes into the game, they have taken a few of the mercenaries at this point. They are pushing the bot lane. They find themselves in a fantastic spot simply because they rotated very aggressively on the map.
And those rotations has made beGenius play a little bit more passive overall. Johanna's pushing the middle lane, but majority of the members are on the bottom right, sitting and hanging out, which has allowed Expert to grab these giants and just push in this wall, which will give them 7 quickly here. You can see how an adjustment in the early game and getting a few picks can really make your opponent not play their game, and now we're getting that nice experience traded out. However, beGenius did answer back pretty nicely here in the top.
Arcane needs to be careful to the top lane. One of the things that beGenius could have done is just play safer on the top lane. Very early Molten Core here, by the way. So play a bit safer on the top lane, just try and soak experience there and continue the 4-man between the lanes. There would have been a bit of pressure up to the top and they need to stay back, but as long as they dodge these aggressive pick-off attempts by Team Expert, they would have been able to still push the lanes out and put extra pressure on the bot lane in particular. They failed to do that, fall behind in kills, and now it's still level 7 versus 7, but they have to find their rhythm here, and that's the most important thing for them at this point.
Well, they're looking for a rhythm as they chase Curson here. He gets low on health, but does get away with that speed boost helping him out and the heal. So Curson, Nick will live as beGenius put 5 people in the middle, and this allows Team Expert to grab the top and middle shrine, which does mean a dragon is available for the taking. However, Team Expert is not set up well to move in for that dragon due to 5 members being up, and beGenius will hold.
beGenius draft is still pretty strong, and especially their team fighting seems to be very solid here. Of course, all depends of Expert picking potentially a target early on in the fight. Just imagine someone like Tychus with the help of Lucio engaging in with the bigger they are, bursting down a hero, and then Ragnaros following it up with a quick hit on his for a smash. That would do a lot. But you can see down here how powerful these combos of heroes are that beGenius is currently running. So they are breaking through the wall, they're putting pressure on the well, but they need to be careful that they're not losing out on heroes like Gul'dan because they overstay a bit too.
Kerbal getting caught there. And the zombie wall. ADRD, though, low on health, gets poked down, and Eric King gets a kill. beGenius getting their first kill of the game.
Yeah, that comp is still very, very strong, and they're actually starting to take a lead in experience. So Expert in the early game has done absolutely fantastic to shut down the aggression at that point, but now they themselves begin to struggle a bit. They're able to break through the top thanks to the camp that they took a bit earlier, but that bottom pressure against their own fort is still consistent.
We're going to watch Curson here in the bottom. 10 right around the corner for Expert. They can get 10 here and make an aggressive play, pick on maybe Gul'dan or Ariel here. They can put themselves in a really good spot to go in for that dragon. They're going to have to wait for Nazebo to get back into a situation where he can help out, though, as he's forced to help defend that middle lane with the aid of a Nubrak. So we have 10 here, but nobody on beGenius is really playing too aggressively for a pick. But they do move into a defensive posture. An Expert moves forward and they grab the shrine. 10 has hit. Let's see how beGenius answers.
Danatan has all the... Oh, Zarya falling. That's an issue. Zarya down at that bot lane. Both the teams on 10 now, as he said. But Zarya being destroyed here, that's a bit of a problem. And that was thanks to Expert aggressively invading the mercenary camp of beGenius. In the meantime, we also saw Greymane take over the shrine up to the top of the map. And that, at least for now, relieves some of the pressure of that mid lane where we saw Johanna attempt to simply interrupt every potential channel on the Dragon Knight. But now with one hero down, just now coming back from the Nexus, they are still on the back foot.
Yeah, I like this move from Expert. They pushed in the bottom and they got the well killed off to make it harder for beGenius to defend if they lose out in a poke war due to Zarya not being available. Team Expert knew that even though beGenius lost their Zarya, there wasn't a real major guarantee that they could get the Dragon, so they took an easy pick there. Grabbing the well helps them out in the middle of the fights.
Right now we have still it's a tiny lead for Expert, but overall this is really looking quite good for both of the teams with a bit of a kill advantage for Team Expert. beGenius, though, as I said, they have a very good composition here for themselves. If they execute that properly, they should be in a decent spot. But Danatan is being caught here. The rest of Team beGenius is starting to move in now too. But we have Expert with 5 heroes on the scene now as Ragnaros is joining the fight. And both of them are absolutely happy to walk away from this.
Yeah, beGenius currently losing out on experience in the top lane that was pushing in, but so is Expert as well as a wave got there, so Ragnaros will have to head on out and start clearing out that wave. beGenius did grab the Mercs to the bottom here, so Expert pulls away. Almost had a fight there, but sadly with Johanna being as tanky she is with the Iron Skin, Anubrak couldn't do too much to set up a fight for that Sulfurous match to come in, and Expert does not get a kill.
Expert not with a kill at this point, but they are still a bit ahead, and now of course it's time for beGenius to try and put some extra pressure on the map, and this is something they are trying to do by taking the night camp here. So both of the teams are very active around the camps, make sure that they grab those, and now Ragnaros at the top lane needs to be a bit cautious since that camp is going to push out the lane. But I love what Expert is doing here. They go to the bot lane, they want to take the fort, that gives them an advantage in experience. If they can pick it up, grenade comes in from Nick, that's the fort, and that is an early level 13. So a bit of a timing window where beGenius might be under enough pressure for Expert to claim a kill.
I want to say that Expert keeps doing this. They keep grabbing both shrines, and the moment they do that, they know beGenius will freak out a little bit, maybe rotate to the middle lane, and they always push that bottom, and eventually it netted them a fort, especially when they went ahead and put Gargantuan on top of that fort. And Azebo by himself, if he gets 2 rotations on a normal fort, they will get the kill. Here's that 13 lead you were talking about.
Talking about kills, though, Bad Benny finds himself in trouble. Expulsion Zone is already being used. The Attainment Strike to the face, and down he goes. The bug has been eliminated. So that was a pretty sweet move on the side of beGenius. Down a talent, but isolating a target and getting the kill here. That was worth a lot for them. They grab another shrine out to the bottom of the map, and they can put pressure onto the structures of Team Experts themselves now.
Yep, that pick really hurts Team Expert with their Anubrak being their solo warrior. They don't really have a major engage. Now ADRD can throw down a wall. Ooh, even catches Ariel here. He's going to go ahead and drop the Gargantuan. They're focusing her down. Will the Aegis get forced? It does get forced. Grenade should be able to secure it. Oh,
Gary!
Have it. Gary, though, goes in and gets the kill.
Gary the Gargantuan goes in and gets the kill together with some happy spiders. That was a bit unfortunate, to be honest. Oriel should not have been caught here. It was looking really good for beGenius in that moment, but Team Expert with a nice isolation. It was a great wall of zombies that we had there from ADRD, and now even more pressure trying to get the kill. There's Zarya in a lot of trouble. Hurricane is on the run. A grenade could finish him potentially off. There's the shields though, but Kirsten slides in and takes him out. Another double kill for Team Expert, setting themselves ahead of beGenius.
Yeah, I really got to call out Ariel there. Unfortunately, getting popped in the bottom left corner. Granted, you know the Zebo wall is coming, so you need to play a bit safer than normal, and her getting picked really hurt the team. That allowed Expert to go in for a hard engage, now to grab both Shrines and a Dragon. That all comes down to one small mistake.
Think about how fast this turned. It started with a kill against Anubrak, beGenius having a lead, picking up the level 13 talent, and realizing, boys, we can push the bot lane a bit, overstaying, and Expert saw just how much they overextended and exploited it. It resulted in 2 kills, since we saw the first one against Oriel, the second one then against Zarya, as the camp got invaded, and on the back of that you get a Dragonite, and Expert all of a sudden is just setting themselves massively apart from beGenius. So for beGenius, that one moment where they overextended could already be the downfall in the game.
Well, Expert overextending themselves here. Horrify comes out and Lucio gets bopped.
Yeah, Lucio gets taken down, and I really like the way that we saw the Horrify being used here for that kill. The problem with this is that in the meantime, we still have the Dragonite go ham at the top lane. So this is netting them 2 forts taken down. Expert might have lost a hero here. They lost Lucio, but they were able to take 2 forts down because beGenius was focused more so on the team fight than dealing with the Dragonite at the top lane.
And this is where it starts to get scary for beGenius. Expert is a team that we didn't think would have a substantial lead until level 20, where they actually get the Viral Infection available for Nazebo. And so far, they're ahead in infrastructure and in terms of talents because of their early game adjustments. beGenius has to start making something happen soon. The problem is we're probably not going to have a Dragon around until level 18, which means it might be too late at that point for them to actually have a great game against Nazebo.
Now, beGenius overall still has a lot of tools available that they can use here, especially with Greymane in their roster. They can always try and get a pick off against any of Team Expert's heroes. And with this setup they're running here, one win in the late game, in a team fight, a good snipe against an isolated hero can really do a whole lot for you. So beGenius, they have a lot of tools available to them now. They should be a bit ahead at this point, you're completely right. I totally agree that with their draft, didn't they make these small mistakes, they should be in a better position. But it's not that they are out of the game just yet. Yeah,
definitely not out of the game, just in a bit of an odd scenario. They did set up for a gank on the top, but Expert has brought all 5 members and brought them together. They're going to pressure in on this keep wall. And look at Bad Benny, this is important. He's anchoring on this left side here to make sure his team can't get flanked, which allows ADRD to start sieging upon the keep here with his spiders, zombie walls, etc.
Greymane is starting to move in, 16 on both sides now, but here comes the Odin. Nick wants to go for the keep, and the rest of the team too. Greymane has to make his way down to the bot lane now to help his teammates out. Already we have the expulsion zone on the ground. Didn't do as much as they were hoping for. No Horrify used just yet, and Greymane on the side is in a bit of an awkward position now. Has to move back before he gets ganked.
Yep, Greymane was there with the flank in case Team Expert did stay whenever that big damage came in from Zarya. He started poking away with Gul'dan helping out too. If a Horrify goes off, then Greymane can go in, but the moment the expulsion zone was utilized, Expert pulled back and Bad Benny checked out the bush. Great job there watching for that flank. Expert in a good spot there with that keep taking about half the damage.
beGenius is down 1 level, and they at least put some pressure onto the top fort with the camp they took earlier, and they're still taking it. Oh, there comes an immediate go for an Uberak. But that was also a very early blessed shield that we saw there. Danatan is apparently thinking that Gul'dan, I suppose, would follow this up with a Horrify, which did not happen. So that's a cooldown burned and nothing gained.
Yeah, Bad Benny happy there not to be picked off, but even happier to have a big heroic used. Well, Impale the Bush, beGenius is getting pretty obvious here in terms of their telegraphed movement. They're looking for a pick. You know they want it. Expert doing everything they can here to make sure that they don't lose out on one of those picks.
beGenius needs to try and get a bit of a win there. We have once again, by the way, on the side of Johanna, the Blessed Momentum. It starts to become a bit of a theme for especially the lower tier teams to go into the Blessed Momentum over Conviction. And I feel right now they really need to have a bit of an engaged tool. And that's where normally we're seeing Johanna coming in. So right now, Conviction not being used here, but we already have that flank set up. Tank for the win is looking for an opportunity. Nice dodges the Sulfura Smash. Blade with a big of a misplay here. No setup for him as Bad Benny misses the stun, and all of a sudden beGenius has a chance to maybe take a victory here, but they're too low already, and this looks like the end of Oriel.
Yeah, but Oriel gonna get focused here. Curson's on the back right. He's gonna go ahead and set and bring out the damage. There it is. Oriel falls. We have the Odin on the left side here, continuing to chase in. They're going to get another shot.
Wow.
Nice pick off. Danatan about half health, but he should survive. The big story, though, the Dragon has been picked up. And remember that keep that was at half health? They're going to go straight for it.
They're going for the keep right now, and they are so far ahead in experience that they are closing in the level 20 talents already. And that, of course, gives Nazebo his power spike. And this is starting to become really rough. It looked at the beginning like it wouldn't be that much of a big deal as Greymane was able to dodge Ragnaros' ult, but then everything turned against them, and especially Nazebo is just dishing out damage. That's a double kill, and that could and should be game.
Tank for the win. Able to take out a new back here on the back right, though. The Dragon continues to keep focusing the core. It has dropped down to 90%. We're going to have a couple members spawning pretty soon here.
Don't forget, Ragnaros still has Molten Core, so you can use that as well if they don't finish the core right now, but I don't think that's the problem they are going to face. This is a game as Team Expert takes the first map against beGenius on Dragonshire.
And beGenius, they held pretty well there until it seemed like that moment down on the bottom left when the Ario got picked in the Zebo wall. The entire momentum of the game just switched so heavily into Expert.
And what was missing in that game? The Panda.
The Panda. That's how you win on Dragonshire. Panda life.
So what we're referring to is, of course, Chen being picked up when we saw the match between Trig Esports and the Playing Ducks happen. But a little bit of Panda up to the top lane never really hurts. In this game, on the other hand, I feel it really showed that beGenius for a long time was able to play on the same level as Expert. Starting to really adapt to all the pressure that Expert was building up.
Yeah.
But then one or two mistakes on the side of beGenius turned the entire game around, especially when Oriel got picked off at the bottom left fort. That was a very huge problem that transitioned into a double kill for Expert, then also the Dragon Knight. That resulted in an experience lead, and Expert is very experienced in just running with those.
That's the level that we're playing at, man. One small mistake can just really hurt you for the rest of the game. We'll see if game number 2 will be a little bit better here for beGenius. We'll be right back after a quick commercial break.